So hi Fiona, I've just paused your video. Thanks for joining us on our Coaching for Confidence video session. Hope you enjoy it today. So just so that you understand the format, we're going to be going through your video. We'll stop and talk about things that are going well, things that we need to see improve. We might re-watch bits of the video, and then at the end we're going to identify the main things we're going to want to work on and come up with an action plan to do that. We'll also be emailing you across your action plan with the goals that we've identified, and you've got lifetime access to both the video and the action plan. So hopefully it's going to be a useful tool for your training in the future. So let's get going and we'll start the video. Nice view, by the way, Fee. Very nice. Okay, I'm just going to pause the video there and we're just going to replay that from the beginning. So what I want you to watch, Fiona, and I think you probably know this, is just he's just not going off your leg forward enough there. So what that means is as you turn, you're going to have to then rely on your reins because he isn't listening to the leg enough there. So as you come off that corner, he's ended up hanging, leaning over to your right. So you can see the whole way down that he's hanging off to the right hand side. And he continues to hang on that right hand side the whole way around the arena. So we're just going to go back, and what I want you to think about, do you remember those exercises we did in the lesson where we leg yielded away from the track? And I want you to try, when you're riding him in the school, to think all the time about pushing him away from that fence that's near the fence line when you're on this left rein, so your right leg. So that at any point you could move him away from that right leg. Because when I'm saying forward off the leg, I don't necessarily mean to say that he needs to be faster in the rhythm. What he needs to be is more responsive off your leg so that you can have that feeling we just talked about, that he would move away from your right leg at any time. So just watch that again. So you can see that his quarters are in off the track and he's leaning on that right shoulder. And then as you come down there, replay that little section for you just in slow motion, so just watch him as he comes through here. Yeah, really head tilting and leaning off onto his right shoulder. All the time for you need to be riding the shoulders and riding the barrel. And if he's listening to the barrel and your reins are controlling the shoulders, then everything else should just about fall into place. Because he's fast enough when you're watching him, you know, the rhythm's fine, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's just not responsive enough. And I think that's really important to remember, that it's not about him being any quicker now. He is going nice speed, but he isn't being responsive enough. And what that's meaning then is you're getting this niggle as he loses his balance, just through you not being able to ride him from your legs as much as you need to, really. I think you're looking a lot better with your hand. It's nice and soft, nice and forward thinking. So that's better there. So it's just a case of him letting go and being responsive enough that you can use that leg to finish off the balance, really. Because if you take away the hand so that you haven't got the hand there as support, then he's relying on your leg. So if he's not listening to that, you're going to get these wobbly moments. That's a nice stretch down. He's really wanting to give you that today, so that's lovely. But again, not listening to that leg. So when you're riding him, I'm just going to pause the video. What I need from you, Fee, is that 100% of the time, even if you're filming your test, you're going to tell him if that walk isn't good enough. And you have to keep that up all the time, okay? So here, as soon as he went a little lazy off your leg, there, you're kicking, kick, 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 yeah. He would have had to have a tap behind the leg where, yeah, and it caused the jog, where he's not listening, rather than trying to coax him through it. And you have to do that 100% of the time so that he understands he's always got to listen to your leg. Because he's very happy to be nice and long and low through the bridle. Nice bringing him back into a nice contact there, Fee. You did well, nice and quiet with your hands. Again, it's that kicking and nudging along, okay? So this way, instantly, Fee, if I just rewind that for you, he is much better in his straightness. And he might not be as supple this way, but as a result, he doesn't overbend around your inside leg quite so much. So you end up with him quite a bit straighter. So if you just watch when he goes off into trot. So I imagine this way it would be easier to flex him left and leg yield away from the track, yeah? Does that make sense? Did you see that? I might just play that back one more time for you so you can really see. So what we were talking about on the other rein was how it would be difficult to flex him to the right and move him off the track. This way, I imagine it would be very easy to flex him to the left and move him off the track. Yeah, you see how much straighter he is there? Much, much better. So what I really need you to focus on when you're riding him, Fee, is that all the time you're not wanting too much bend one way or another. We'll just watch that again because that was great. Let's just finish off what we were saying. You're not wanting too much bend one way or another. Okay, so you know, just for your clarity, he always tries to overbend left. So you're trying on the left rein to keep him very straight. And when you're on the right rein, try to get that bend. Yeah, so left rein, don't let him overbend left. Keep him straight. At all times you could move him off the right leg. When you're on the right rein, loads of leg yielding toward the track, so leg yielding off your right leg, loads of circles right, circling in and out. So if you can work on his suppleness to the right, that'll massively help. Right, let's carry on because that canter was looking amazing. So really responsive in that transition. I love where your hands are. Yeah, not too low, nice and high. Yeah, you've really improved that hand position, Fee. I really like that. And again, what a lovely rhythm he's got. So I don't think the rhythm is something we need to be worried about now. It's just this responsiveness off the leg. Better trot after the canter. Yeah, I'm glad you shortened your reins up there because I was just about to say you just need to trust yourself now. I think you've worked really hard on not overusing the contact. He's in a much better frame, much higher in the frame. It's lovely to watch. So now you just need to trust that you can shorten that rein so that you do maintain a contact and you don't end up with sort of a loose rein at times. But that's nice. Again, nice transition, but could you see how he was overbending around that left leg again? Yeah, so here he's throwing the weight onto the right shoulder. He's overbending, and then in the transition, you see how much he's flexed around to the left. So again, you know, could you flex him to the right? Feel like you could get a stride of leg yield, even in the canter. You know, like here, could you just perhaps straighten him up to that right leg a little bit? So it's just a feeling, just pause for a second, if you were sat on him, that if you press the right leg, you just get a little reaction. That's what we're after. Lovely. Yeah, and again, yeah, it is a bit crooked on that centre line, but it's the same thing. Sitting and not listening to your right leg enough. Nice halt. Really, really good. So, hi Fee, I hope you enjoyed the online coaching video. Hope it's helped. What we're going to do now is we're just going to go over the main goals that we've identified from the video, explain them in a little more detail, make sure they're clear, and then explain the action plan. You're going to get that email to you as well, but it just means that hopefully I can clarify through a few actions what I mean in the email as well. Don't forget as well, you've got your 30-minute coaching call as part of this package, so we can catch up. They're best to be caught up in a couple of weeks when you've had a little go, and then if there's anything that's difficult or any teething issues, we can talk through them. If there's anything that's going great and you need a progression, then we can do that. Or it might be that you just, there's something else you need to discuss, but either way, the call's there to keep you on the straight and narrow. So let's get started with the goals that we identified. I'm not going to overload you with loads of different things. I'm just going to pick the two really big ones, which I feel if we master, then you'll be off on your way doing much better things. So the two main goals which we talked about, one was his responsiveness to your leg, and the second was his ability to stay straight. Now they're quite big goals, so I'm going to break them down into exercises and hopefully explain a little bit why, particularly the second one, is quite complicated. So let's start with the responsiveness off the leg. What I need you to realise is that he's actually in a really good rhythm now. He really doesn't need to be going any faster. He's going forward, he's just not being responsive. So that's why we're going to do transitions, 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 okay? The important thing about doing these transitions, which I wanted to go through, was that you apply a really quiet aid first, and then you're very quick to explain if he hasn't responded how you want. So just a tiny little squeeze, and then a kick, and then a little tap behind the leg if he doesn't listen. But it's got to be quiet. Squeeze, kick, tap. So just like a dog, it's in the moment and he understands, okay? Also, you've got to be like that 100% of the time. So if he's feeling a little bit lazy or tired, out of sorts, just not into it, of course you can change what you're doing. So if you start the exercise and you think, oh, it's not feeling it today, by all means go out for a hack, do some jumping, things that he enjoys, but don't change the determination that that's how strict you're going to be. You are not going to kick every stride. It's going to be a little tap, little kick, little smack. Okay? Now, for him to understand this and it change from being a let's just walk quicker, he needs to understand what the leg means. So transitions are how we're going to do that. So we're going to pretend like this is your school fee, and what I need you to do, for example, say we were walking here, you can work round the school, so it doesn't have to be round the edge, but you might trot here, then you might circle, then you might canter half a circle, trot, then you might walk, then you might halt, then you might trot, then you might change the rein, then you might walk, 5 steps, trot. So it's really quite quick succession, okay? If he starts to get a little bit jig-joggy, just from knowing him in our face-to-face lessons, that's something I expect he might do in the walk. Just when you do walk, just sit really quiet until he gives you a nice walk and then move on again. Okay, so that he learns that by jig-jogging you're not going to pull him back, you're just going to sit quietly till he relaxes into that forwardness and goes into a nice walk, okay? If you're struggling, that's something we can discuss in the coaching call, but give it a go and put your faith into it. So in a session you might do 50 to 60 transitions, more, yeah, loads. Right, so the second one was the straightness. Now this is a little bit complicated because there's various reasons why he isn't staying straight. So just let's explain first where the straightness comes from. Now, straightness is high up on your scales of training. So we've got rhythm, we're happy with that. We've got an element of suppleness, some of it's slightly lacking. We've got a nice contact, he's really accepting of the contact now. Impulsion, we're going to work on in goal 1. And then you've got collection and you've got straightness. So his ability to sit is lacking a little bit. His suppleness is lacking a little bit. By ability to sit, I mean collection. And then this is affecting the straightness. But like you know with all the others, if you're lacking suppleness, it affects the rhythm. Yeah? So it's not a scale that just goes like this. Sometimes something up here needs to be addressed. And that's what's happening with the fact that he's struggling to sit that weight behind, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to do this leg yield exercise, okay? Now let's just go through the way that drummer is going. So if I'm drummer, what he is currently doing is over-bending round to the left, okay? And he's leaning on this right shoulder, okay? So he isn't taking the weight on his hind end, okay? So what I need to do from you is make sure that when you're on the left rein, you always keep him straight and you feel like at any time you could move him off this right leg. When you're riding on the right rein, you can ask for plenty of bend because you're lacking suppleness to the right. So where he likes to bend to the left, he just likes to sit there and hang a little bit, okay? What that also means is that all his weight is down the inside shoulder, okay, rather than sitting on the outside hind, okay? And sometimes that then leads, like I said earlier, that shoulder to swing out as well. That makes sense? Okay, so through a half halt, a little rebalance, you would take him off this shoulder and sit the weight behind on this leg, okay? Which we'll talk about in the next part of this exercise, which is the collection. So he needs more suppleness to the right and he needs to be able to collect onto his right hind more. Those two things are going to help this, okay? So let's deal with the suppleness first. The leg yield exercise, we've done it before. We're going to start on the right rein, really simple, loads of leg yielding away from the right leg towards the track. And that's the easiest way to do this exercise. The slightly more difficult way is on the left rein, and you're going to leg yield again away from the right, but away from the track. And that's expecting a little bit more response to that right leg, okay? The other thing I want you to do, all along the same lines, is try to ride when you're on the left rein away from the track, so that you can see that you've got control of his shoulders and that he isn't sitting here, okay, just leaning onto your right leg, not really respecting it and hanging on the fence, okay? So riding a little bit off the track. The other thing you're going to do on the left rein is you're going to make your turns nice and square. So let's say we're doing a turn from, I don't know, E to B across the school, and when we get to E, what I'd like to do a little bit before is take a little half halt and imagine that you're doing a many-sided shape like this, where you notice that your outside leg is moving the shoulders, rather than he turns off the inside hand and loses the shoulder, okay? And that's the same if you're doing a circle. So try to imagine on your circles on the left rein that he's straight and that he isn't overbent to the left, okay? And if you start riding him really straighter on that left rein, this is really going to help him, okay? The next thing I need you to be aware of, and this is another exercise in itself, is let's teach him the half halt better. So it's really easy when you feel like a horse is a bit behind the leg, not being responsive, to sort of think faster, 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 but actually he needs to understand. So what I want you to start putting into this is a little bit of a collection, and all I want you to do is just a couple of strides where you ask him to sit, 1, 2, and you go forward again. And just like you're doing with your squeeze, kick, tap, is the same with the collection. So you'll ask really lightly, just to sort of squeeze through your legs here, drawing your core up, weighting with your upper body, a little bit of outside rein. But if that doesn't work, you might go sitting trot to make your seat edge stronger and really hold through your core, yeah? All the time, loads of leg, yeah? So that collection remains forward. The rhythm mustn't slow down. So if it's trot, 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 and it still stays trot, 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 but he just collects and sits a little bit more. Okay? We're going to put all those together, and hopefully this is going to make a big difference for you. Don't forget that you've got your coaching call, so that can be taken when you want.
Hi, thanks for watching. That was Alex Fleming from Coaching for Confidence.
So normally,
if you want to follow more, please like our Facebook page at Coaching for Confidence, or press the little button on the screen to subscribe.
And I hope
Take
that all
care.
makes sense.
Bye.
If it didn't, just pop me a message and I can explain a little bit further. Okay, take care. Bye.